taking the step from Network Rail and setting up your own business is obviously daunting, absolutely. But over the last 10 years, you've achieved that. With rail being such a close-knit market, close-knit community, how did you win work in the early years?
So, yeah, daunting it certainly was. I walked out of full-time employment on the Thursday before Easter with no clue what I was about to get into until I was on the way down the pub for my leaving drinks when the phone rang from a recruiter, and I started doing some work for Capita as their package manager on a piece of high-speed 2 work the following Tuesday. So the family Easter holiday went out the window, and the business sort of took off from that point. But so yeah, it was a little bit daunting, a bit naive really, I suppose, at the time. I thought it'd just all be all right and it would be nice and easy. I think if somebody had just sat me down and told me exactly what was coming in the next 10 years, would I have done it? Well, I don't know. There's the question, I suppose.
Hindsight is a beauty, isn't it?
So it's not an easy route. Work winning is probably the most difficult bit. Yes, we've got all the accreditations which we spoke about, but effectively they need some hours sat behind a desk doing some stuff. The work winning is more out facing. You've got to go chase it. You've got to know where to go and chase it, and that's becoming a very complicated scene as we move forward. There is more pressure on the client organisations to demonstrate value for money. We've grown over the last 10 years in a very relationship based environment where we know somebody, they've trusted us to do a piece of work, we do a good job, we get repeat business.
Yes.
As an SME, it's not always difficult to demonstrate the value for money. It can become with agility. We're very quick to turn around. We don't have layers of overhead on jobs, so we can deliver jobs generally at quite a cost-effective rate and very quickly. But the flip side of that is it's sometimes difficult for the client teams to demonstrate that they've market tested, and so more often now we're getting into a position where whilst we might be top of somebody's list to go and do a piece of work, they've still got to market test us, so we're not guaranteed that piece of work anymore. So those sorts of things are becoming more prevalent as everybody's coming under pressure in the industry to demonstrate value for money. Minimum viable product is out there as a requirement. So we're always trying to find our ways of trimming what our deliverables look like, looking at what our end product is, just to make sure that we're not putting requirements into a design that aren't there at the start. So there's a whole piece of work around that. But in terms of the work winning itself, that does come down to being out there, doing things like this, getting face out there. The RIN events are great. It's about instilling that confidence in the clients that we're here. We're not about to disappear off the pitch. We have done some good stuff. We can do some good stuff, and to give us a bit of trust and come in, because we have a lot of tier ones that are focused on the bigger tier one consultancies. Of course. It's their method. To get them to take a step away and trust an SME sometimes is a little bit challenging. There are other tier ones which have focused on delivery by SMEs, and it'd be interesting to get 2 of those in the room and have a discussion about how they find the difference between the tier ones and the SMEs. I can only say it from my perspective. I would say we add value. The problem you've got with an SME sometimes is we cannot deliver the capacity sometimes. We've got plenty of competence, we haven't always got the capacity. So we're right for some jobs, we're not right for others, and it's finding that balance and having those honest conversations with the client teams when they come with an opportunity to say, well, is this 50, 60 people for the next 12 months to deliver this? If so, we're probably not the right people for doing it. Yes. If it's 6 people for the next 3 months, then I'm all over it. So so that work winning is difficult. In terms of getting out and seeing people, and generally getting the name out and about, we've as part of our corporate social responsibility, we've taken on board support for become a corporate partner for the Railway Benefit Fund, which is a great organisation supporting railway families in need. And we also support the National Railway Museum because that ties in very much with one of our values for developing people. They're doing an awful lot of work in the space of education at the minute. So that those two organisations that we're corporate partners with are really helpful for getting a bit of credibility out around enGauged and what we do and just showing our values really.
And that education part is really, really important, isn't it? It's well documented about the skills gap that there is, and an element of, we're looking at even 30% of the railway workforce retiring in the next 5 to 10 years or so. So actually imparting that knowledge, working in community-led initiatives is so important, even from an SME perspective, isn't it really?
It is, and I think over the years we have struggled a little bit with recruitment to attract people in. As a small SME, if somebody's got an opportunity to go and work for Arup and they've got an opportunity to come and work for enGauged, you've got to have a very special person that's probably going to come to enGauged because the bright lights of Arup are going to attract them every day of the week. And I don't just single Arup out. All the big consultancies have got that. They've got the name, they've got the stand-in, they've got the big projects that people want to be associated with. Coming to work in enGauged will give them a very good rounded position. They'll see a job from start to finish and they'll be running with it. But it's a different environment. And so we've struggled a little bit, I think, to attract people in. And so we took a view a good number of years ago to try and grow our own engineers. So that we've got some good experience at the tail end of our careers with grey beards sitting in the organisation. So we're perfectly placed really to do a lot of good training. So we partnered up with two local colleges, one UTC and one South and Mid Cheshire. And we're taking T-level students in on placement, and that gives us a bit of a try before you buy type approach. So we've had a lot of success of taking students on. We've got 3 technicians that have been with us a fair while now who are off doing a degree apprenticeships, 2 with Liverpool John Moores, 1 with Salford, and that will get them to a position where they'll hopefully in a few years' time be sitting at incorporated engineer level, and have moved from themselves from a CAD technician position to an engineer position.
Wow.
So starts to give us a bit of development, a bit of growth coming through the team, and hopefully will give us a bit of more sustainable future whilst also injecting something into the local community.
What have your learnings been as a business owner over the last 10 years?
Some broadcastable, some not broadcastable. I think what I've learned over the last 10 years is to put a bit of focus into what you want to do. So when I first set the business up, I started with a full-time contracted role, and it took me quite a while to let go of that. In fact, I still haven't fully let go of it. I'm still doing a little bit of PE work for Network Rail in North West and Central at the minute, so I haven't completely let go of that. And it's that comfort factor, I think, a little bit. And so I allowed that to run on far too long in the early years. And it was good for a steady income stream and a bit of cash flow in the business whilst we were getting some design work in place and taking on the first couple of staff.
Yeah.
But what it did do, it stunted our growth for the first 4 to 5 years because I was busy doing a job for somebody else and not growing my own business.
Yes.
So I think I've learnt that you need a bit of focus on what your end output needs to be, rather than grabbing anything that happens to wander past. So I made a few mistakes, I think, probably the first few years of not focusing down quickly enough on what I was trying to achieve. Yeah. And I think secondly, the one thing that I have been very lucky with is having people in the business who got an eye for the money. Because as an engineer, it's very easy to get dragged into the technical stuff because that's what I like doing every day.
Yes.
You definitely need a good accountant and a good business manager to keep an eye on the day-to-day functioning of the business, and to give you a prod every so often to say, "Oi, you need to. Which of these 2 bills do you want to pay this week?" So it is. The cash flow is forever needing a bit of watch, because you get into a business position where you've got fixed outgoings on a fixed day every month, and you get an income stream that's reliant on you delivering. It's reliant on your client paying you on time. It's reliant also on fairly fixed, regimented payment periods. So if you don't watch the day you're going to get paid as against the day your bills are landing, you can end up with a gap very quickly. And that is something I learned very quickly that was something that needed a bit of focus, and it's not my core skill set. Then you sort of spend a fair few hours locked away with the accountant learning suddenly what your balance sheet looks like.
No, absolutely. And actually having the right people around you as well, as you made the point there, having a key business manager that's setting you right at time to time is obviously incredibly important.
I think as an MD, that's the one thing that I would recommend anybody to go get, is somebody to sit on your shoulder as a conscience, because you are top of the organisation. All the problems as they come land on your desk, and sometimes you just need somebody to bounce something off.
Of course.
And to get that second opinion, because you don't know everything. So it's, unless I'm at home, of course, I might know everything.
So over the next 10 years, how do you take those learnings, and what do you aim to achieve with enGauged over the next 10 years?
So that's a good challenging question. So the forward look ahead is to grow our footprint. We have a central office in Crewe at the minute. We have a couple of outbased staff in Glasgow and in West London. So our aim really is to try and solidify some presence. We're doing a lot of work in Scotland at the moment. We're doing a bit down south. So for us really, it's to expand the client base into those areas. There's also a lot of committed spend going on in Ireland. So we're also looking at how we might look to expand our operation into Ireland. The All Ireland review that's just been carried out is quite eye-opening in terms of what they're trying to achieve in the next 25 years. So I'd very much like us to be part of that. So again, that's about working with the tier 1 contractors to understand how we fit in as an SME, what support we can offer, and how we can go about setting that up. So I'm quite hopeful for the next 10 years. I think we've put a lot of building blocks in place over the first 10 years. We've got all of our key accreditations in place now, and a good team that's starting to deliver good work. So I think the future's bright.
Just growth all the way through. As you say, Ireland at the moment, huge levels of opportunities, and obviously there was RailLink just the other week over in.
Yeah, so we attended RailLink not as an exhibitor this time, but as a visitor. But we have signed up. We're across in Belfast in August to exhibit at RailLink in Belfast. So we'll see what develops in that space.
Good opportunities ahead. What's the best project that you've worked on over the last decade, in your opinion?
That sort of splits into 2 really, and I'm going to stretch the decade slightly because the last project I was on within Network Rail, I was the engineering manager for the Network Rail team in London Bridge Station redevelopment, and so we had an absolute cracking team developed down there with Costain as the delivery partner. So I led the engineering team as part of that. So we took that from being part of a peer group review where 5 of us sat down and had a look at the proposals, through to actually forming a team to go on and deliver that over a 6-year period. Was an immense opportunity and an absolutely brilliant experience. So that will always stick with me as a bit of a career high type project while I've been working for somebody else. In terms of within enGauged Limited, we again had a good team environment set up to deliver a piece of work for Bedford Borough Council. We were asked to go and support Kilburn Consulting. So Kilburn drew together a small team of SMEs to deliver the new station design at Wixham's. We were involved quite early putting the requirements management together just before COVID, to be fair. And that was a Bedford Borough Council led project. So it was run through Network Rail but under ASPRO. So Network Rail approvals required, so normal Form A deliverables. We picked up the civils, the earthworks, structures, platforms, car park, employed the architect. And so we had all of the sort of traditional building and civils environment. So others were on board for track and OLE and signalling. And so the environment that was created was a whole group of SMEs coming together. I think it worked really well. We got the benefit with SMEs is that I'm quite hands-on, so you get the experienced people actually at the sharp end.
Yeah. So
we had numbers of Teams calls trying to work through options to keep to a very tight budget that the council had set, and so we quickly managed to do some optioneering between extending earthwork. The location of the platforms was quite critical, but that had a knock-on effect to signal sighting. It had a knock-on effect to how much earthworks we had to do, and so we were quickly on a call, able to work through those impacts, look at the mitigations in the wider railway system, and come up with the solution quite quickly. And so that, I think, was a bit of a high in terms of projects that we worked on from the company point of view. I think mainly just because the environment that was set up, and what we achieved, I think, was a signed off Form A in to budget, to time, and so quite a successful delivery really, which just shows what can happen if you get a group of like-minded companies coming together to. The ethos was best for project, and I think everybody was trusted to get on and do what they needed to do with a view that it needed to be the best for the project budget.
And both those examples there show a great level of collaboration throughout, with being the types of projects that they are. So many people hand in hand. There's room for things to go wrong quite quickly if you've got so many different minds working on different things. So to actually hear that level of collaboration, I think that it really does epitomise what the rail industry is about, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, we'd set the team up once, particularly on Wixham's. We'd set the team up with a short weekly call, kept everybody online. We were raising issues quite quickly. It was able to be dealt with quite quickly, and so it was a number of companies coming together, but we acted as one. In front of the client, and everybody was trusted to go and speak to the client about their particular issues without that one-on-one marking that often arrives.
That's perfect. Steve, thank you very much for joining us, and here's to the next 10 years.
Thank you for having me.